She took a job as a live-in nurse, unaware the patient was her billionaire ex who left her pregnant with twins. "Is everything all right?" Ethan asked when she rejoined them, noticing her pensive expression. "Fine," she assured him. "Just work details." But as she watched Lucas showing Ethan his underwater handstand and Lily floating peacefully nearby, Clara couldn't ignore the tightness in her chest. In just 2 days, this interlude would end. They would return to their apartment, to their regular lives, and this magical week would become just a memory. Unless she chose differently. That night, after the twins were asleep, Clara made a decision. Finding Ethan in his study, she knocked softly on the open door. "Do you have a moment?" she asked. "For you? Always." He set aside his tablet, giving her his full attention. Clara took a deep breath, stepping into the room. "I've been thinking about your offer. About the East Wing." Hope flickered across his features, quickly tempered with caution. "And I can't accept it. Not as it stands." She held up a hand when he started to speak. "Let me finish. I can't move the twins in here without them knowing who you are. It wouldn't be fair to any of us." "I understand," he said, disappointment evident in his voice. "But," Clara continued, "I am willing to consider a different arrangement. Regular visits, dinners, perhaps weekends eventually. A chance for you to build a relationship with them before we tell them the truth." Ethan's expression brightened. "I'd like that very much. And I think we should tell them sooner rather than later. Not immediately, but once they've had a chance to know you better." Clara met his gaze steadily. "They deserve the truth, Ethan. And you deserve a chance to be their father. Their real father, not just a family friend." "Clara." Ethan's voice was thick with emotion. "Thank you. I know this isn't easy for you." "It's not," she admitted. "Part of me is still angry, still hurt by what happened. But another part sees how good you are with them, how much they're already drawn to you. I can't deny them that connection, or you the chance to make amends." "I won't let you down," he promised. "Not again. Not ever." "One step at a time," Clara reminded him, though her voice was gentler than before. "We'll start with Sunday dinners after your new nurse arrives. See how it goes." "Sunday dinners sound perfect." Ethan hesitated, then asked, "And what about us, Clara? Is there any chance that someday—" "I don't know," she answered honestly. "Too much has happened. Too many years have passed. But I'm willing to see where this journey takes us, for the twins' sake and maybe for our own as well." It wasn't a promise of reconciliation, but it was an opening. A small crack in the wall she'd built around her heart. For now, that was enough. On the morning of the 7th day, Clara stood in the entrance hall with her suitcase packed. The twins saying goodbye to Margaret while Ethan's new nurse, a competent, kind-faced woman named Eleanor, received her final instructions from the doctor. "You don't have to leave," Ethan said quietly, standing beside her without his wheelchair for the first time. "The East Wing could be yours. The twins love it here. We need space, Ethan. Time to adjust to this new reality." Clara watched as Lucas demonstrated his drone for Eleanor. "Besides, I have a job starting next week at Memorial Hospital. At least let me help financially. They're my children too. We'll work out those details through proper channels." Clara's tone softened at his crestfallen expression. "But we'll come for dinner on Sunday, and we'll talk about how and when to tell them the truth." Hope brightened his features. "I'll be counting the hours." As they prepared to leave, Lily approached Ethan hesitantly, offering a carefully folded paper. "I made this for you, to help your heart get better." Ethan unfolded it to find a drawing of himself surrounded by the twins and Clara, all holding hands beneath a bright sun. At the bottom, in careful handwriting, "Family helps hearts heal." "Thank you, Lily," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. "This is the best medicine I could ask for." Clara watched the exchange, her own heart constricting with complicated feelings. The past week had upended everything she thought she knew about Ethan, about herself, about the future she'd envisioned for her family. Nothing was certain except change itself. The man who had once abandoned her had been transformed by regret and illness into someone humbled, someone striving to be worthy of second chances. The children who had never known their father would soon face a truth that would reshape their understanding of themselves and their family. And Clara herself stood at a crossroads, the anger that had protected her for years slowly giving way to the possibility of forgiveness. Not for Ethan's sake, but for her own, and for the family they might yet become. As they drove away from Caldwell Estate, Lucas chattering excitedly about his drone project while Lily gazed thoughtfully out the window, Clara allowed herself to imagine a future different from the one she'd planned. More complicated, perhaps, but also richer with possibility. "Mom!" Lily's voice broke through her thoughts. "Mr. Caldwell looks at us the way you do, like we're the most important people in the world." Clara met her daughter's perceptive gaze in the rearview mirror. "What do you think about that?" Lily considered the question with characteristic thoughtfulness. "I think everyone deserves someone who looks at them that way. Even Mr. Caldwell?" Clara asked softly. "Especially him," Lily decided. "He seems like he's been lonely for a long time." Out of the mouths of babes, Clara thought, a small smile touching her lips as she turned toward home. Their modest apartment that had always been filled with love, if not luxury. For now, it was still their sanctuary, their familiar space to process all that had happened and all that might yet be. That evening, as Clara tucked the twins into bed, Lucas asked the question she'd been anticipating. "Mom, when are we going back to Mr. Caldwell's house?" "We're having dinner there on Sunday," she replied, smoothing his blanket. "If you'd like to go." "Yes." Lucas pumped his fist in excitement. "I want to show him my science fair ideas. He said he might help me build a real working prototype." "That's wonderful, sweetheart." Clara kissed his forehead. "Now get some sleep." In Lily's room, her daughter was already nestled under her covers, a book open beside her. "Did you have a good time this week?" Clara asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. Lily nodded, her expression serious. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course, anything." "Is Mr. Caldwell going to be part of our family now?" The directness of the question caught Clara off guard. "What makes you ask that?" Lily shrugged, her perceptive eyes never leaving Clara's face. "The way he looks at us. The way you look at him sometimes when you think no one's watching. And..." She hesitated. "His eyes are exactly like Lucas's." "Exactly." Clara's heart raced. Of course Lily would notice. She missed nothing, this thoughtful child of hers. "What are you asking me, Lily?" "Is Mr. Caldwell our dad?" The question was simple, direct, and utterly disarming in its clarity. For a moment, Clara couldn't speak, caught between the lie she'd maintained for years and the truth that seemed determined to emerge. "Why would you think that?" she finally managed. "It makes sense," Lily said with the straightforward logic of childhood. "You knew him before we were born. He has Lucas's eyes and my smile. And he looks at us like he's trying to memorize everything about us. Like he's afraid we might disappear." Clara took a deep breath, making a decision that would change everything. "Lily, this is a very important conversation. One that involves your brother too. Can we talk about it tomorrow all together? I promise I'll answer your questions honestly." Lily studied her mother's face, then nodded. "Okay, but no more stories, right? Just the truth." "Just the truth," Clara agreed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I promise." After Lily had fallen asleep, Clara sat in the living room of their apartment, the silence a stark contrast to the lively atmosphere of Caldwell Estate. Her phone chimed with a text message from Ethan. "Thank you for an extraordinary week. The house feels empty without all of you. Looking forward to Sunday." Clara stared at the message, emotions swirling. She had planned to wait, to let the twins get to know Ethan better before revealing the truth. But Lily's question had changed everything. Her daughter had already pieced together the puzzle. It was only a matter of time before Lucas did too. Making a decision, she typed a response. "Lily asked if you're her father tonight. I think we need to have the conversation sooner than we planned. Can you come here tomorrow instead of waiting for Sunday?" Ethan's reply came almost instantly. "Of course. What time? Lunch? 1 p.m.? This should happen in their home, where they feel secure. I'll be there." And Clara, thank you for this chance. Clara set her phone down, a mixture of anxiety and relief washing over her. Tomorrow would change everything for the twins, for all of them. But perhaps it was time for the truth to finally emerge from the shadows of the past. The next morning, Clara woke the twins with pancakes, Ethan's recipe with cinnamon and vanilla, and prepared them for an important visitor. Mr. Caldwell is coming for lunch today, she explained as they ate. There's something important we need to talk about with both of you. Is he sick again? Lucas asked, concern crossing his features. No, sweetheart. His health is improving well. Clara took a deep breath. It's about something else. Something about our family. Is it about him being our dad? Lily asked directly, causing Lucas to drop his fork with a clatter. What? He exclaimed, looking between his sister and mother. Mr. Caldwell is our dad? But you said our dad died. Lucas, Lily, please. Clara held up her hands. Let's wait until Mr. Caldwell is here. Then we'll explain everything together. The hours until Ethan's arrival were tense. The twins unusually quiet as they helped Clara clean the apartment and prepare lunch. Lucas kept shooting confused glances at his sister, while Lily maintained a thoughtful silence, arranging and rearranging the place settings at their small dining table. At precisely 1 p.m., the doorbell rang. Clara opened it to find Ethan standing there, looking both nervous and determined. He had dressed simply, jeans and a button-down shirt rather than his usual tailored attire, and carried a small gift bag in each hand. Thank you for coming, Clara said softly. They're waiting in the living room. Ethan nodded, his expression serious. How much do they know? Only what Lily has guessed, that you might be their father. I wanted us to tell them together. Taking a deep breath, Ethan followed Clara into the modest living room where the twins sat side by side on the sofa, their expressions a study in contrasts. Lily calm but watchful, Lucas fidgeting with barely contained questions. Hello, Lily, Lucas. Ethan greeted them, his voice gentle. Thank you for letting me visit your home. Is it true? Lucas blurted out, unable to contain himself any longer. Are you our dad? Because Mom always said our dad died before we were born. Ethan glanced at Clara, who nodded slightly, then took a seat in the armchair across from the twins. Yes, Lucas, I am your father, and I owe both of you, all of you, an explanation and an apology. The room fell silent, the weight of his confirmation hanging in the air. Lucas's mouth opened and closed several times, for once at a loss for words. Lily simply watched, her gaze moving between Ethan and Clara. But you're not dead, Lucas finally said, his brow furrowed in confusion. No, I'm not, Ethan agreed. And I'm sorry that you were told I was. That was... He hesitated, looking at Clara. That was my decision, Clara said, sitting beside the twins and taking each of their hands. When you were little, I thought it would be easier for you to believe your father had died rather than knowing he had left us. You left. Lucas's voice was small, hurt. You didn't want us? No, Lucas, that's not it at all. Ethan leaned forward, his expression earnest. I left before I knew your mother was pregnant with you. I didn't know about you until last week, when your mother came to work at my house. You didn't know we existed? Lily asked, her perceptive gaze fixed on Ethan. No, I didn't. If I had known, Ethan's voice caught. I would have been there. I should have been there regardless. Leaving your mother was the biggest mistake of my life. Why did you leave? Lucas demanded, a hint of anger entering his voice. Ethan took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. I was young and scared. My own father was not a kind man, and I was afraid I would be like him. Instead of talking to your mother about my fears, I ran away from them, and from her. That was really mean, Lucas declared, crossing his arms. Yes, it was. Ethan agreed without hesitation. It was cowardly and cruel, and I've regretted it every day since. If you regretted it, why didn't you come back? Lily asked, her quiet question cutting to the heart of the matter. Pride at first, Ethan admitted. Then shame. The more time passed, the harder it seemed to reach out, to try to make amends. I told myself your mother had probably moved on, found someone better. But she didn't, Lily observed. She's been alone all this time. The simple statement hung in the air, a child's observation laying bare the years of solitude Clara had endured while raising the twins. I know. Ethan's voice was thick with emotion. And I can never make up for the time I've lost with you, or for everything your mother had to do alone. But if you'll let me, I'd like to be part of your lives now. To get to know you, to support you, to be the father I should have been from the beginning. Lucas looked at Clara, his expression confused and hurt. Mom, why did you lie to us? Clara felt tears threatening but forced herself to meet her son's gaze. I thought I was protecting you. I didn't want you to feel abandoned or unwanted. As you got older, it became harder to tell the truth. I was afraid you'd be angry with me for lying. I am angry, Lucas declared, though his voice wavered. At both of you. That's fair, Ethan said quietly. You have every right to be angry, Lucas. With both of us. What happens now? Lily asked, practical as always even in this emotional moment. Are you going to live with us? Are we going to live with you? That's something we'll figure out together, as a family? Clara answered, squeezing her daughter's hand. For now, nothing has to change right away. We'll take things slowly, get to know each other better. I'd like to spend time with you both, Ethan added. If you're willing, perhaps weekend visits, dinners together. Whatever makes you comfortable. Lucas was quiet for a moment, processing. Then he looked directly at Ethan, his young face serious. Did you really not know about us? You're not just saying that. I really didn't know, Ethan confirmed, holding the boy's gaze. If I had, nothing would have kept me away from you. Nothing. Something in his sincerity seemed to reach Lucas, who gave a small nod. Okay, I believe you. I have something for each of you, Ethan said, reaching for the gift bags he'd brought. Not to buy your forgiveness that has to be earned over time, but as a small start to knowing each other better. He handed the first bag to Lucas, who opened it cautiously. Inside was a small drone kit, more advanced than anything the boy had seen before, with a note attached. For my brilliant son, let's build this together. Love, Dad. Lucas stared at the gift, then at Ethan, a complex mixture of emotions crossing his face. Thanks, he said finally, his voice small but sincere. Lily's bag contained a leather-bound journal with her name embossed on the cover, and inside the front cover, a handwritten note. For my thoughtful daughter. Your words matter. Love, Dad. It's beautiful, Lily said softly, running her fingers over the embossed letters. I noticed how much you enjoy writing and reading, Ethan explained. I thought you might like a special place for your own stories and thoughts. Lily nodded, clutching the journal to her chest. I do. Thank you. The gifts weren't extravagant displays of wealth, Clara noted with approval, but thoughtful items that showed Ethan had been paying attention to the twins' interests and personalities during their week together. There's one more thing, Ethan said, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small velvet box and handed it to Clara. This isn't what you might think, he assured her quickly. Please, open it. Clara opened the box to find a delicate silver locket. Inside were two tiny photographs, one of Lily and one of Lucas, taken during their week at the estate. I thought you might like to have them close to your heart, Ethan explained. A small token of my gratitude for the extraordinary job you've done raising our children. Ethan, Clara whispered, touched by the thoughtfulness of the gift. Thank you. The rest of the afternoon passed in a strange mixture of awkwardness and connection. They shared lunch at the small dining table, the twins gradually warming up enough to ask Ethan questions about his life, his work, his interests. He answered everything honestly, never talking down to them or evading difficult topics. Will you come to my science fair? Lucas asked as the afternoon was drawing to a close. It's in 3 weeks. I'd be honored, Ethan replied, his expression brightening. If that's all right with your mother. Clara nodded. Of course. And maybe. Lucas hesitated, then plunged ahead. Maybe we could work on my project together? like we started to at your house. I'd like that very much, Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion. Perhaps you could come over next weekend? Both of you, he added, including Lily in the invitation. Can we, Mom? Lucas looked to Clara, hope evident in his expression. Yes, she agreed, seeing how important this was to her son. We can arrange that. As Ethan prepared to leave, Lily approached him with a serious expression. I have one more question. Anything? Ethan promised, kneeling to her level. Do you still love Mom? The directness of the question caught both adults off guard. Clara felt her cheeks warm as Ethan glanced up at her, then back to Lily. Yes, he said simply honestly. I never stopped. But love isn't always enough, Lily. Trust and forgiveness are important too. Your mother has every reason not to trust or forgive me right now. But she might someday? Lily pressed. That's up to her, Ethan said gently. All I can do is try to be worthy of a second chance. Lily considered this, then nodded. Okay, I think that's fair. At the door, Ethan paused, looking back at the three of them, Clara with an arm around each twin. Thank you, he said softly, for today, for the truth, for the chance to know my children. One day at a time, Clara reminded him, though her voice held less caution than before. One day at a time, he agreed. I'll call tomorrow about next weekend. After he left, Clara braced herself for the twins' questions, their anger, their confusion. But instead, Lucas simply asked if they could order pizza for dinner, and Lily retreated to her room with her new journal. It wasn't until bedtime that Lucas finally spoke about what had happened. Mom? He asked as she tucked him in. Are you and Dad going to get back together? The word Dad sounded strange coming from Lucas's lips, but Clara didn't correct him. I don't know, sweetheart. It's complicated. Because he hurt you when he left? Yes, partly that. But he's sorry now, Lucas pointed out. And he didn't know about us. Being sorry is important, Clara acknowledged. But rebuilding trust takes time. Lucas was quiet for a moment, thinking. I think I want to know him better, he finally said, before I decide if I'm still mad. That's very wise, Clara said, kissing his forehead. And it's okay to have mixed feelings about all of this. It's a lot to take in, Clara continued. For all of us. Yeah. Lucas yawned, his eyelids growing heavy. But it's kind of cool that our dad isn't dead. And he's really smart about robots. He is, Clara agreed, a small smile touching her lips. Get some sleep now. We can talk more tomorrow if you want. In Lily's room, her daughter was already in bed, writing in her new journal. She looked up when Clara entered, her expression thoughtful. Are you okay, sweetheart? Clara asked, sitting beside her. Lily closed her journal carefully. I think so. I'm still figuring it out. That's understandable. It's a big change to process. I always wondered about him, Lily admitted. What he was like, if I looked like him. You have his smile, Clara said softly, and his thoughtfulness. Lily nodded, absorbing this information. He seems different from what I imagined. Different how? Sadder, but also more real. Lily looked up at her mother. I used to imagine this perfect dad who would have loved us so much if he hadn't died. But real people make mistakes, don't they? Yes, they do, Clara agreed, struck by her daughter's insight. Even parents. Even you. Lily asked, her perceptive gaze never wavering. Clara took a deep breath. Yes, even me. I thought I was protecting you by not telling you the truth, but maybe that was a mistake too. It's okay, Mom. Lily reached for Clara's hand. I understand why you did it. Tears pricked at Clara's eyes. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise, Lily said with a small smile. I just don't talk as much as Lucas. Clara laughed softly, pulling her daughter into a hug. I love you so much, Lily. No matter what happens with your father, that will never change. I know. Lily nestled against her. And I think I might want to call him Dad someday. Not right away, but maybe when I know him better. That's entirely up to you, Clara assured her. There's no rush, no pressure. You take all the time you need. After both twins were asleep, Clara sat alone in the living room, emotionally drained but strangely peaceful. The truth was finally out. Messy, complicated, but real. No more lies, no more pretending. Whatever happened next, they would face it together, honestly. Her phone chimed with a text from Ethan. Thank you for today. They're extraordinary children. You've done an amazing job, Clara. I know I have a long road ahead to earn their trust. And yours. But I'm committed to walking it, however long it takes. Clara found herself smiling as she typed her reply. They're handling it better than I expected. Lucas is already calling you Dad, though Lily's taking her time. They'd like to come over next weekend. And Ethan, thank you for being honest with them. It meant a lot. His response came quickly. Being honest with them, with all of you, is the least I can do. I've lived with lies and regrets for too long. And Clara? The locket wasn't just a gift. It was a promise. I'm here now, for all of you, in whatever way you'll allow. Clara touched the silver locket she'd put on after he left, feeling the slight weight of it against her skin. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a step toward something new, something that honored both their past and the possibility of a different future. The next few weeks brought a gradual shift in their family dynamic. True to his word, Ethan focused on building relationships with the twins, never pushing for more than Clara was comfortable with. Weekend visits became a regular occurrence, with the twins spending Saturdays at Caldwell Estate, while Clara used the time to catch up on work or simply enjoy a rare moment of solitude. Lucas took to calling Ethan Dad almost immediately, his natural resilience and curiosity overcoming his initial anger. Lily was more reserved, still addressing him as Mr. Caldwell, though Clara noticed her gradually warming to him, especially when he showed interest in her writing and art. 3 weeks after the revelation, Lucas's science fair arrived. His project, a miniature automated greenhouse with sensors that adjusted water and light based on each plant's needs, had been built with Ethan's guidance during their weekend sessions. Clara watched from the sidelines as father and son stood proudly beside the display, Lucas explaining the technology to impress judges, while Ethan beamed with undisguised pride. They look alike when they smile, Kate observed, having joined Clara for the event. It's uncanny. I know, Clara agreed softly. Sometimes I look at them together and wonder how I never saw it before. How are you feeling about all this? Kate asked, her protective instincts still on alert. About him being back in your lives? Clara considered the question carefully. Cautiously optimistic. He's been different than I expected. Patient, respectful of boundaries, genuinely focused on what's best for the twins. And what about what's best for you? Kate pressed. Are you still planning to take that position at Memorial? Yes, I start next week. Clara had accepted a nursing supervisor role at the prestigious hospital, a significant step up from her previous position. Ethan offered to help financially with the twins, but I want to maintain my independence. Admirable, but don't let pride get in the way of practical help, Kate advised. Those kids deserve everything he can provide, including college funds and opportunities you might not be able to give them alone. We're working on finding the right balance, Clara assured her. One step at a time. Across the gymnasium, Lucas's project was awarded first prize. The boy's face lit up with excitement as he turned to Ethan, who pulled him into a proud hug. Clara felt her heart swell at the sight, a complex mixture of joy and lingering sadness for all the moments like this that had been missed over the years. Later that evening, as they celebrated Lucas's victory with dinner at a restaurant Ethan had chosen, Clara observed the subtle changes in their family dynamic. Lucas was animated, describing the judge's comments in detail. Lily was quieter but engaged, occasionally correcting her brother's exaggerations with fond exasperation. And Ethan watched them both with an expression of wonder and gratitude that made Clara's chest tighten with emotion. Mom said you're helping her find a good doctor, Lucas said suddenly, turning to Ethan. Because of your heart thing. Clara nearly choked on her water. She had indeed consulted with Ethan about finding a pediatric cardiologist to monitor the twins, given the potential genetic component of his condition, but she hadn't mentioned it to the children yet. That's right, Ethan confirmed, glancing at Clara apologetically. It's just a precaution. Sometimes heart conditions can run in families, so it's good for you both to have checkups. Are we going to get sick like you did? Lily asked, her perceptive gaze moving between the adults. No, sweetheart, Clara assured her quickly. We're just being careful. Like wearing a seatbelt in the car. You don't expect to crash, but you're prepared just in case. Exactly, Ethan agreed. And I know the best doctors, so you'll be in excellent hands. Is that why you collapsed? Lucas asked bluntly. Because no one checked your heart when you were a kid? Ethan considered the question thoughtfully. Partly. My father had heart problems too, but I didn't take care of myself the way I should have. I worked too much, slept too little, and didn't pay attention to warning signs. That was dumb, Lucas declared. Lucas, Clara admonished gently. No, he's right, Ethan said with a rueful smile. It was dumb, and I don't want either of you making the same mistakes. Health is more important than work or money or success. Is that why you're not working as much now? Lily asked. Margaret said you used to work all the time, but now you take breaks to spend time with us. That's exactly why, Ethan confirmed, his expression softening. I'm learning what really matters, and it isn't spreadsheets or board meetings. Clara felt something shift inside her at his words, at the genuine change they represented. The Ethan she'd known 9 years ago had been brilliant but driven, ambitious to a fault. This Ethan, the one sitting across from her, patiently answering their children's questions, had learned humility, perspective, the value of connection over achievement. After dinner, as they walked to their cars in the restaurant parking lot, Ethan pulled Clara aside while the twins examined a fountain nearby. I've been meaning to ask you something, he said, his expression serious. About the twins' medical coverage. We have insurance through my job, Clara assured him. It's not the best, but it's adequate. I'd like to add them to my policy, Ethan said. It's comprehensive, covers everything, including specialists and preventative care. No copays, no deductibles. Clara hesitated, her pride warring with practicality. Ethan, please, Clara, let me do this. Not just for them, but for my own peace of mind. His eyes held hers, sincere and concerned. If there's any genetic predisposition to heart issues, I want them to have the absolute best care possible. No limitations, no compromises. Put that way, how could she refuse? All right, she agreed. But just the medical insurance for now. Relief washed over his features. Thank you. I'll have my HR department send the paperwork. As they prepared to part ways, Lucas surprised them both by giving Ethan a spontaneous hug. Thanks for helping with my project, Dad. I couldn't have one without you. That's not true, Ethan said, returning the hug with evident emotion. The ideas were all yours. I just helped with some of the technical details. Still, it was cool working together. Lucas stepped back, suddenly self-conscious about his display of affection. It was very cool, Ethan agreed, his voice thick. I'm looking forward to our next project. Lily approached next, more reserved but with a small smile. Thank you for dinner, Mr. Caldwell. You're welcome, Lily. Ethan didn't push for more, respecting her need for distance. But as they turned to leave, Lily paused, then turned back. I've been thinking, she said seriously. If you're going to be our dad now, I should probably call you that. If that's okay. Ethan's breath caught audibly. I'd like that very much, Lily, but only when you're ready. She nodded solemnly. I'm not ready all the time yet, but maybe sometimes. Sometimes is perfect, Ethan assured her, his smile gentle. We'll take it one day at a time. As Clara drove the twins home, she found herself reflecting on the evening, on the gradual healing that was taking place in their unconventional family. There were still wounds, still uncertainties, still moments of anger and regret. But there was also growth, forgiveness beginning to take root, new connections forming where old ones had been severed. Mom! Lucas's voice came from the back seat. Can we stay at Dad's house next weekend? Like, overnight? Clara glanced in the rearview mirror, surprised by the request. You want to have a sleepover at your father's? Yeah. He said we could use the pool and he wants to show me his workshop, the real one, not just the maintenance room. And Lily wants to read more books from the library. Clara looked at Lily, who nodded confirmation. You both want this? I think so, Lily said thoughtfully. It would be different, but maybe good different. I'll talk to your father about it, Clara promised, the words still strange on her tongue. We'll see what we can arrange. That night, after the twins were asleep, Clara called Ethan rather than texting. He answered immediately, his voice warm with pleasure at hearing from her. The twins are asking about staying overnight at your place next weekend, she said after they'd exchanged greetings. Really? The hope in his voice was palpable. Both of them? Yes. Lucas is excited about the workshop, and Lily mentioned the library. I'd love to have them, Ethan said quickly. I can prepare rooms in the East Wing, make sure everything is child-friendly. Would you stay too? Clara hesitated. The thought of spending the night under Ethan's roof again brought complicated feelings. I don't think so. Not this time. I think it might be good for them to have time with you without me as a buffer. I understand, Ethan said, though she could hear the disappointment in his voice. But you're welcome always. The offer stands. Thank you. Clara paused, then added, They're really warming to you, Ethan, especially after today. You were wonderful with Lucas at the science fair. He's brilliant, Ethan said, pride evident in his voice. And Lily, her insights, her thoughtfulness. They're both extraordinary, Clara. Every moment I spend with them, I'm in awe of who they are, of who you've raised them to be. They're easy to love, Clara said softly. Yes, they are. Ethan's voice gentled. Like their mother. The words hung between them, loaded with meaning. Clara felt her heart quicken, unsure how to respond. I'm not trying to pressure you, Ethan added quickly. I want you to know that my feelings haven't changed. If anything, they've deepened. Seeing you as a mother, witnessing your strength, your grace under pressure. I admire you more than I can express. Ethan, you don't need to say anything, he assured her. I'm content to focus on the twins for now, on being the father they deserve. The rest, that's up to you, if and when you're ready. Clara found herself smiling despite the complexity of her emotions. One day at a time, right? One day at a time, he agreed, the phrase that had become their mantra. I'll call tomorrow about arrangements for next weekend. After they hung up, Clara sat in the quiet of her living room, turning her phone in her hands. The anger that had sustained her for so long was fading, making room for something else. Not forgiveness, not yet, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. Of seeing Ethan not as the boy who had abandoned her, but as the man he had become, the father he was striving to be. The weekend sleepover at Caldwell Estate proved to be a turning point. Clara dropped the twins off on Saturday morning, trying to ignore the flutter of anxiety at leaving them overnight. They were excited, Lucas practically bouncing with anticipation. Lily more contained but clearly looking forward to exploring more of the library. We'll be fine, Mom, Lucas assured her, impatient to be off. Dad said we're going to build a real robot in his workshop. And I'm going to read in the library, Lily added. Margaret found some books she thinks I'll like. All right, Clara conceded, hugging them both. Be good. Listen to your father, and call me if you need anything. Anything at all. They'll be perfectly safe, Ethan promised, standing in the doorway. I've child-proofed the entire East Wing, and Margaret will be here the whole time. Clara nodded, trying to hide her nervousness. I know. It's just the first time we've been apart overnight since they were born. Ethan finished for her, understanding in his eyes. I know it's a big step. Thank you for trusting me with it. As Clara drove away, she felt a strange mixture of emotions. Worry for the twins, but also an unexpected sense of freedom. For the first time in 8 years, She had a full day and night to herself with no responsibilities, no one depending on her immediate presence. She spent the day indulging in small luxuries she rarely had time for. A long lunch with Kate, browsing in bookstores without checking the time. Even a massage at a spa. Kate had given her a gift certificate from months ago. By evening, she found herself surprisingly relaxed, enjoying the quiet of her apartment while catching up on a novel she'd been trying to finish for weeks. Her phone chimed with a text from Ethan. A photo of the twins in the kitchen, flour dusting their faces as they made pizza from scratch. Lucas was grinning widely, while Lily showed a small, satisfied smile. The caption read, "Master chefs in training. All is well. They miss you, but having fun." Clara smiled, sending back a quick thank you. An hour later, another text arrived, this time a video call request from Lucas. She answered to find both twins in their pajamas, eager to show her their rooms in the East Wing. "Mom, look." Lucas panned his phone around a bedroom that had clearly been designed with him in mind. A space theme dominated, with constellations painted on the ceiling that glowed in the dark. A desk in the corner held a computer and what looked like the beginnings of a robotics project. "Isn't it awesome?" Dad said I can help design the rest. "It's wonderful, sweetheart," Clara agreed, touched by the thought Ethan had put into creating a space that would appeal to their son. "And look at mine." Lily took the phone, walking to her adjoining room. Where Lucas's was all planets and technology, Lily's was a reader's paradise, soft colors, a window seat piled with cushions, and a small bookcase already filled with titles Clara recognized as her daughter's favorites. "Dad asked Margaret what books I liked," Lily explained, her voice holding a note of pleased surprise. "And he remembered I said green was my favorite color." Clara noted the easy way Lily had used Dad this time, without hesitation or awkwardness. "It's perfect for you, Lily. Are you both having a good time?" "The best." Lucas reclaimed the phone. "We made pizza and Dad showed me his real workshop. It's huge, Mom, with all kinds of machines and computers. And tomorrow we're going to swim before you pick us up." "That sounds wonderful," Clara said, genuinely happy to see them so excited. "I'll see you tomorrow afternoon then. Sleep well, both of you." "Night, Mom," they chorused before ending the call. Clara set down her phone, a complex mixture of emotions washing over her. She was glad the twins were enjoying their time with Ethan, glad he was making such efforts to connect with them. But there was also a twinge of something else, not quite jealousy, but perhaps a sense of being replaced, of no longer being the only parent in their lives. Her phone chimed again. Another text from Ethan. "They're settled in bed now, both reading. Lucas is already planning his next invention." Lily asked for more journals. "They're extraordinary, Clara. Thank you for this day with them." The simple gratitude in his message eased some of her discomfort. Ethan wasn't trying to replace her or compete with her. He was simply treasuring the time with his children, time he had missed for 8 years. The next morning brought another photo. The twins eating breakfast on the terrace, the ocean visible behind them. They looked happy, at ease in their father's home in a way that both warmed Clara's heart and reminded her how quickly things were changing. When she arrived to pick them up that afternoon, she found all three in the pool, engaged in what appeared to be an epic splash battle. Lucas was perched on Ethan's shoulders, while Lily swam circles around them, launching surprise attacks that had her brother shrieking with laughter. "Mom's here," Lucas called out when he spotted her. "Mom, come see what I can do." Clara watched as he demonstrated a dive he'd apparently learned that morning, Ethan hovering nearby with obvious pride and protective instinct. "Very impressive," she called from the pool deck. "You've been busy." "Dad taught us both," Lily explained, swimming to the edge where Clara stood. "I can hold my breath for almost a minute now." "Careful, though," Ethan added, following her. "No practicing that without supervision." "We know, Dad," Lucas said with the exaggerated patience of childhood. Safety first. The easy way they interacted, the natural family dynamic that had developed in just one overnight visit, caught Clara by surprise. It was as if some essential piece had clicked into place, completing a picture that had been unfinished for years. "Will you come in, Mom?" Lucas asked hopefully. Dad has extra swimsuits. Clara hesitated, caught between wanting to join their fun and feeling like an outsider in this new threesome they had formed. Please, Lily added, her usually reserved expression open and eager. How could she refuse? All right, she agreed, just for a little while. 20 minutes later, Clara found herself in the pool, wearing a borrowed swimsuit that fit surprisingly well, engaged in a game of water tag with the twins, while Ethan prepared a late lunch on the nearby grill. The simple joy of playing with her children, of hearing their laughter echo across the water, loosened something that had been tight inside her for years. You look happy, Ethan observed when she finally climbed out, accepting the towel he offered. I am, she admitted, watching the twins continue their water games. They've had a wonderful time. So have I. Ethan's gaze was warm as it rested on her. Thank you for allowing this, Clara. It means more than I can express. Clara nodded, suddenly aware of their proximity, of the domesticity of the moment. The children playing, the meal being prepared, the easy conversation between them. It felt dangerously close to the family life she had once dreamed of, before Ethan's abandonment had shattered those dreams. Lunch is almost ready, she said, stepping back slightly. I should get the twins dried off. Ethan nodded, respecting her need for distance. Of course. Lunch was a lively affair, the twins full of stories about their overnight adventure. The movies they'd watched in Ethan's home theater. The ice cream sundae bar Margaret had set up for dessert. The late-night stargazing from the terrace with Ethan pointing out constellations. Can we come back next weekend? Lucas asked as they were preparing to leave. Dad said he'd help me start building a real robot, not just a model. And I want to read more of the books in the library, Lily added. There's a whole section on mythology that looks interesting. Clara glanced at Ethan, who carefully kept his expression neutral, leaving the decision entirely to her. We'll see, she said. Let's check the calendar when we get home. As they gathered their things, Clara noticed a drawing on the kitchen counter. Clearly Lily's work, showing 4 figures holding hands. Lucas, Lily, Ethan, and Clara, standing in front of what appeared to be the mansion. Our family was written across the top in Lily's neat handwriting. Lily drew that this morning, Ethan said quietly, noticing her gaze. She asked if she could leave it here, to make the house feel less empty when they're gone. Clara felt her throat tighten with emotion. She's always been perceptive. She gets that from you, Ethan said. The ability to see what others need, often before they know it themselves. Before Clara could respond, the twins returned with their overnight bags, ready to depart. Goodbyes were exchanged, with promises of phone calls and plans for the coming weekend. Clara noticed that both twins hugged Ethan without hesitation now, and that he returned the embraces with a careful tenderness that spoke volumes about his feelings for them. In the car on the way home, the twins chattered excitedly about their stay, already planning what they wanted to do on their next visit. Clara listened, asking questions and sharing their enthusiasm, while part of her mind remained on that drawing in Ethan's kitchen. The 4 figures holding hands, a family united. Was that possible? After everything that had happened, could they truly become a family in any meaningful sense? The question lingered in her mind over the following weeks as a new routine established itself. The twins spent weekends at Caldwell Estate, sometimes with Clara joining them for meals or activities, sometimes with her taking the opportunity for much-needed personal time. Ethan began attending school events, Lucas's soccer games, Lily's art exhibition, always careful to coordinate with Clara, never overstepping or trying to take control. 1 month after the twins' first overnight stay, Clara arrived to pick them up and found Ethan in the kitchen, looking unusually serious. Everything okay? She asked, immediately concerned. Yes, the kids are fine. They're just gathering their things, he assured her quickly. But there's something I wanted to discuss with you, about their future. Clara tensed slightly. What about it? I've been thinking about their education, Ethan said carefully. The public school they attend is good, but there are other options that might better nurture their specific talents. Lucas's gift for science and engineering, Lily's literary and artistic abilities. Private schools, Clara surmised, her guard rising. Expensive ones, I assume. Yes, Ethan admitted. But before you say no, please hear me out. This isn't about showing off my wealth or taking control. It's about giving them opportunities to develop their potential fully. Clara sighed, leaning against the counter. Ethan, I appreciate your concern, but their school is perfectly adequate. They're both doing well academically. I know they are. They're brilliant. Pride colored his voice. But adequate isn't the same as exceptional. Lucas is already working beyond his grade level in math and science. Lily's reading and writing skills are years ahead of her peers. They deserve environments that will challenge them, not just accommodate them. Clara wanted to argue, to defend her choices, but she knew there was truth in his words. She had seen Lucas grow bored with science lessons that covered material he'd mastered years ago. She'd watched Lily hide her advanced vocabulary around classmates who teased her for using big words. I've researched several options, Ethan continued, pulling out a folder, including Westridge Academy. It's about 20 minutes from your apartment, has small class sizes, specialized STEM and arts tracks, and an excellent record of scholarships to top universities. And costs more per year than I make, Clara pointed out. Yes, Ethan acknowledged without apology. But that's not an obstacle. I want to provide this for them, Clara. Not to show off or to make you feel inadequate, but because they're my children too, and this is something I can give them that will benefit them for life. Clara was quiet, conflicted emotions warring within her. On one hand, she wanted the best for the twins, and she knew Westridge Academy would offer opportunities their current school couldn't match. On the other hand, accepting such significant financial support from Ethan felt like surrendering some of her hard-won independence, her identity as the parent who had provided everything the twins needed. I'm not trying to take over, Ethan said softly, reading her expression. This would be a partnership. You would still make all the day-to-day decisions. I'm just offering resources that can open doors for them. I need to think about it, Clara finally said, and to discuss it with the twins. This affects them most of all. Of course. Ethan handed her the folder. All the information is in here. Take your time. Whatever you decide, I'll support. The twins chose that moment to appear, backpacks in hand, unaware of the weighty conversation that had just taken place. They said their goodbyes to Ethan with the easy affection that had developed over the past month, already looking forward to the next weekend. On the drive home, Clara found herself lost in thought, the school brochures weighing heavily in her bag. Was her resistance about what was best for the twins, or about her own pride? Was she denying them opportunities out of a desire to prove she could provide everything they needed without Ethan's help? Mom! Lily's voice broke through her thoughts. Are you okay? You're very quiet. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just thinking. Clara glanced in the rearview mirror. Actually, there's something I'd like to discuss with both of you when we get home. Once they were settled in their living room, Clara brought out the school brochures. Your father thinks you might benefit from a different school, she explained. One with more advanced programs in science and arts. Lucas's eyes widened as he flipped through the glossy pages. Whoa, they have a robotics lab. And look at these computers. Lily examined the literature more carefully. They have creative writing classes and a real art studio, she noted, interest clear in her voice. And the library looks amazing. It would be a big change, Clara cautioned. A new school, new teachers, new classmates. And it's more academically demanding than your current school. But we'd learn more, right? Lucas asked. Stuff that's not boring? Yes, the curriculum is more challenging, Clara confirmed. It's designed for students who need more advanced material. Like us, Lily said simply, without arrogance, just stating a fact they all knew to be true. Clara studied her children, seeing their genuine interest in the opportunity. You'd both want to go? Even if it meant leaving your friends? Lucas nodded immediately. I can still see my friends after school and on weekends. But Dad says a good education is really important. He's right about that, Clara acknowledged. Is it very expensive? Lily asked perceptively. Is that why you're worried? Sometimes Clara forgot how little escaped her daughter's notice. Yes, it's expensive. Your father would be paying for it. But that's okay, isn't it? Lucas looked confused. He's our dad. Isn't that what dads do? Help take care of stuff. Out of the mouths of babes, Clara thought, not for the first time. In Lucas's simple worldview, this was just a father fulfilling his natural role, not a complicated negotiation of power and independence between ex-partners. Yes, that is what dads do, she agreed softly. I just want to make sure this is what you both really want, not just because of the fancy buildings or technology. I want to learn more, Lily said seriously. Sometimes school is too easy, and I get bored. But I don't want to skip grades because then I'd be with older kids. This sounds like I could stay with kids my age but learn harder things. Me too, Lucas added. Plus, Dad said he went to a school like this when he was a kid, and it helped him learn how to build computers and stuff. Clara nodded, making her decision. All right, I'll talk to your father about the application process. But, she added, holding up a cautionary finger, if you go, I expect both of you to work hard. This isn't just about having fancier classrooms or better computers. We will, Lucas promised eagerly. I'll work super hard. Me too, Lily agreed, her expression serious. Thank you, Mom. Later that evening, after the twins were in bed, Clara called Ethan. We've discussed the school, she said when he answered. The twins are interested, and I agree it would be good for them. That's wonderful. Ethan's voice was warm with pleasure. I can contact the admissions office tomorrow. They'll need to take placement tests, but with their abilities, I don't anticipate any issues. Ethan, Clara hesitated, then pushed forward. I need to be clear about something. I'm grateful for this opportunity for the twins, but I don't want them raised with a sense of entitlement or privilege. Private school is one thing, but I don't want them thinking money solves everything or puts them above others. I couldn't agree more, Ethan said seriously. My own upbringing was privileged but cold. Material advantages without emotional connection. That's the last thing I want for them. Good, Clara said, relieved by his understanding. Then we're on the same page. We usually are when it comes to the twins, Ethan observed. We may have our complicated history, but we seem to share the same values about parenting. Clara had to admit he was right. Despite their different backgrounds and the years apart, they did approach parenting with similar priorities, emphasizing kindness, intellectual curiosity, and emotional honesty. There's something else, Ethan added, his tone shifting slightly. I've been meaning to ask you. The company's annual charity gala is next month. It's a significant event, raises millions for children's education initiatives. I was hoping the twins might attend. And you, of course. A gala? Clara repeated, caught off guard by the request. That sounds very formal. It is somewhat. Black tie, dinner, dancing. But there will be other children there. Many of our executives and board members bring their families. And it would mean a lot to me to have all of you there. Clara hesitated, imagining herself and the twins in Ethan's world of wealth and privilege. I don't know, Ethan. That's very different from weekend visits and school decisions. I understand your hesitation, he said quickly, but I'm not asking you to pretend to be something you're not. I'm proud of who you are, Clara, a dedicated nurse, an extraordinary mother. I'd be honored to have you there, just as you are. His sincerity was palpable, even through the phone. Let me think about it, she finally said, and discuss it with the twins. Of course, no pressure. His voice softened. And Clara, thank you for being open to the school. It means more than you know. After they hung up, Clara sat in the quiet of her living room, turning over the gala invitation in her mind. It represented another step into Ethan's world, another blurring of the boundaries she had carefully maintained. Yet she couldn't deny the twins' growing relationship with their father, or the gradual healing that was taking place between all of them. One day at a time, she reminded herself. That was all any of them could do. The following weeks brought a flurry of activity, school applications, placement tests, which both twins passed with flying colors, and preparations for the transition to Westridge Academy. Clara was impressed by how Ethan handled the process, always including her in every decision, never using his wealth or influence to override her input. As the date of the charity gala approached, Clara found herself facing an unexpected dilemma. What to wear? Her wardrobe, practical and modest, contained nothing remotely suitable for a black tie event. "You should go shopping," Kate suggested during their weekly coffee date. "Get something that makes you feel beautiful." "On my budget?" Clara laughed. "I'm not sure Walmart carries gala-appropriate evening wear." "Then let Ethan help," Kate said bluntly. "He's the one who invited you to this thing. And before you get all proud on me, remember that this isn't just about you. It's about the twins seeing their parents as a united front, even if you're not together romantically." Clara sighed, knowing her sister was right. Fine, but nothing too extravagant. When she reluctantly mentioned her concern to Ethan, his response surprised her. Instead of offering to buy her a dress, he suggested something more thoughtful. "My mother left several evening gowns that have been preserved," he explained. "She was about your size. Perhaps you might find something among them that appeals to you? No pressure, of course, but they're beautiful pieces that deserve to be worn." The offer touched Clara unexpectedly. It wasn't about money or showing off his wealth, but about sharing something personal, something with history and meaning. "I'd like that," she found herself saying. "Thank you." The day before the gala, Clara visited Caldwell Estate while the twins were at school. Ethan led her to a room she hadn't seen before, a dressing room adjacent to the master suite, where several garment bags had been carefully laid out. "These were her favorites," Ethan explained, unzipping the first bag to reveal a midnight blue gown with delicate beading. She had excellent taste. Simple, elegant, nothing ostentatious. Clara ran her fingers over the fine fabric, touched by the gesture. "She must have been beautiful." "She was," Ethan agreed softly, "inside and out. She would have adored the twins. And you," he added, his gaze meeting hers. "She would have respected your strength, your dedication to them." Clara tried on several gowns, finally settling on an emerald green silk that fit as if it had been made for her. The color brought out the gold flecks in her eyes, and the classic cut was both elegant and comfortable. "Perfect," Ethan said when she emerged from the dressing room, his voice hushed with admiration. "You look absolutely beautiful, Clara." Something in his gaze, in the reverent way he spoke, sent warmth spreading through her. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to truly see him. Not as the boy who had abandoned her, not as the billionaire patient, but as the man he had become. A man who had made terrible mistakes but was working every day to atone for them. A man who loved their children with his whole heart. A man who still looked at her as if she were the most precious thing in his world. "Thank you," she said softly, smoothing the silk against her hips. "For the dress. For everything you're doing for the twins." "They're what matters most," Ethan replied simply. "Them and—" He hesitated, then finished. "And you, Clara. Always you." The night of the gala arrived with a flurry of excitement. The twins were dressed in their finest. Lucas handsome in a child-sized tuxedo, Lily elegant in a pale blue dress that complemented her dark curls. They chattered excitedly in the limousine Ethan had sent, speculating about the food, the music, the other children who might be there. Clara sat quietly, her heart racing with a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. The emerald gown felt like armor of a sort, giving her confidence to enter Ethan's world with her head held high. Caldwell Estate was transformed for the event, the grounds illuminated with thousands of twinkling lights. The grand ballroom opened to accommodate hundreds of guests. As they arrived, Clara couldn't help but feel a moment of intimidation at the display of wealth and power surrounding them. "You look stunning," Ethan greeted her, appearing at her side in a perfectly tailored tuxedo. "All of you," he added, smiling at the twins. "The most beautiful family in the room." Family. The word hung in the air between them, loaded with meaning and possibility. "There are some people I'd like you to meet," Ethan said, offering his arm to Clara. "But only if you're comfortable. This is your evening too. I want you to enjoy it." Clara took his arm, surprised by how natural it felt. "Lead the way." The evening unfolded like a dream. Ethan introduced them to colleagues and friends, always with evident pride, never once making Clara feel like anything less than his equal. The twins charmed everyone they met, Lucas enthusiastically explaining his latest invention ideas, Lily impressing Ethan's board members with her thoughtful observations and vocabulary. "Your children are remarkable," an elegant older woman commented to Clara during dinner. "Such poise, such intelligence. You must be very proud." "I am," Clara agreed, watching as Lucas demonstrated something to a group of attentive adults across the room. "They're my greatest achievement." "And Ethan?" the woman asked with a knowing smile. "He seems quite devoted to all of you." Clara glanced to where Ethan stood with Lily, listening intently as she described a book she was reading. "He's been wonderful with them," she acknowledged. "They've become very close. And with you." The woman's gaze was kind but perceptive. "Forgive me for being forward, but I've known Ethan for many years. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you." Before Clara could respond, the orchestra began playing, signaling the start of the dancing portion of the evening. Ethan approached, extending his hand to Clara. "Would you do me the honor?" he asked, his expression hopeful. Clara hesitated only briefly before placing her hand in his. "I'm not much of a dancer," she warned as he led her to the dance floor. "Just follow my lead," Ethan said softly, drawing her into his arms. "I've got you." And he did. As they moved together to the music, Clara found herself relaxing into his embrace, the years of separation and hurt momentarily suspended. His hand was warm against her back, his steps sure as he guided her across the floor. "The twins are having a wonderful time," he murmured, nodding toward where Lucas and Lily were attempting to copy the adults' dance moves, giggling together. "Thank you for bringing them tonight." "They're happy," Clara observed, watching their children with a full heart. "Happier than I've seen them in a long time." "Because their family is coming together," Ethan said quietly. "Even if it's not in the conventional way." Clara met his gaze, seeing the hope and longing there. "Is that what we are? A family?" "I'd like us to be," he admitted. "In whatever way you're comfortable with. The twins need both of us, Clara. And I." He hesitated, then continued with raw honesty. "I need you, not just as the mother of my children, but as the woman I never stopped loving." The simple declaration hung between them, honest and vulnerable. Clara felt something shift inside her, a wall crumbling that had protected her heart for so long. "I was so angry for so many years," she whispered. "I thought I hated you for what you did." "You had every right to," Ethan acknowledged. "I failed you completely. But watching you with the twins these past months, your patience, your genuine love for them, the way you've respected my boundaries even when it was difficult." Clara took a deep breath. "I can't hate the man you've become, Ethan. I'm not sure I even recognize him as the same person who left me." Hope bloomed in his eyes. "Does that mean there might be a chance for us? Not right away, not rushing into anything, but someday." The music swelled around them as Clara considered his question. The anger that had sustained her for so long had faded, replaced by something new, not quite forgiveness yet, but the possibility of it. And alongside that possibility, the undeniable truth that despite everything, a part of her had never stopped loving him. "One day at a time," she said softly, but this time the words held promise rather than caution. "Starting today." Ethan's smile was radiant as he drew her closer, their dance becoming less formal, more intimate. "That's all I ask for. A chance to prove myself worthy of you, of our family." As the evening drew to a close, the twins exhausted but happy, Ethan walked them to the limousine that would take them home. The children hugged him goodnight, already looking forward to seeing him the next day. "I'll call you tomorrow," he told Clara as she prepared to join the twins in the car. About the school enrollment details. Yes, she agreed, lingering for a moment. Ethan, thank you for tonight. It was magical. For me too, he said softly. Then, with a courage born of hope, he leaned forward and pressed a gentle kiss to her cheek. Good night, Clara. The simple gesture, respectful yet intimate, sent warmth spreading through her. Acting on impulse, Clara turned her face slightly, meeting his lips with hers in a brief, tender kiss. Good night, Ethan, she whispered, pulling back to see wonder and joy spreading across his features. It wasn't forgiveness, not completely. It wasn't a promise of forever. But it was a beginning. A new chapter in a story that had seemed finished years ago. As the limousine pulled away, Clara glanced back to see Ethan standing in the driveway, watching them go with an expression of such hope and gratitude that it brought tears to her eyes. The twins were already half asleep beside her. Lucas's head drooping against her shoulder, Lily curled up with her new journal. Her family, unconventional, complicated, still healing but undeniably hers. And perhaps someday soon truly complete. 6 months later, Clara stood in the garden of Caldwell Estate, watching as Lucas demonstrated his science fair project to a group of admiring relatives. The twins had thrived at Westridge Academy, their natural talents nurtured by dedicated teachers and challenging curricula. They had grown closer to Ethan with each passing week, the initial awkwardness giving way to a deep, genuine bond. And Clara herself had undergone her own transformation. The anger and hurt that had defined her for so long had gradually healed, replaced by a cautious joy she had never expected to feel again. She and Ethan had taken things slowly, rebuilding trust through honest conversations, shared parenting, and a growing recognition that the love between them had never truly died. It had simply been buried under years of pain and misunderstanding. Penny, for your thoughts. Ethan's voice came from behind her, warm and familiar now. Clara turned to find him watching her with the same wonder he'd shown that first day in the solarium, as if he still couldn't quite believe she was real. Just thinking about how much has changed, she said, accepting the glass of lemonade he offered. A year ago, I never would have imagined this. Regrets? He asked, a hint of vulnerability in his question. Not one, Clara assured him, her free hand finding his. The twins are happier than I've ever seen them. And I. She smiled up at him. I'm happier too. Ethan's expression softened as he squeezed her hand. I love you, Clara. I know I don't deserve this second chance, but I promise you, I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret giving it to me. I love you too, she replied, the words coming easily now after months of cautious rebuilding. And maybe we both needed this time, these years apart, to become the people who could truly appreciate each other, truly build something lasting. Ethan nodded, his gaze drifting to where the twins were now engaged in an animated conversation with Kate. They're excited about the move, he observed. Yes, though Lucas is already planning how to redecorate his room, Clara laughed. And Lily wants to catalog the entire library. The decision to move into Caldwell Estate had not been made lightly. Clara had insisted on maintaining her apartment initially, wanting the twins to have a sense of continuity and herself a space that was truly her own. But as the months passed and they spent more and more time at the estate, it had begun to feel like home to all of them. I was thinking, Ethan said, his tone casual though Clara could sense the importance behind his words, about the East Wing. What about it? She asked, curious. It's officially yours, the twins and yours, regardless of anything else between us. He turned to face her fully. I've had the paperwork drawn up. It's a gift, no strings attached. Ethan, please let me finish, he said gently. I want you to know that you and the twins will always have a home here, always be secure, no matter what. But he reached into his pocket, withdrawing a small velvet box. I'm hoping for so much more than that. Clara's breath caught as he opened the box to reveal a ring. Not ostentatious or flashy, but a simple, elegant diamond set in platinum, timeless and beautiful. Clara Mitchell, Ethan said, his voice steady despite the emotion shining in his eyes. You gave me the greatest gifts imaginable. Our children, your forgiveness, a second chance at love. Would you do me the extraordinary honor of becoming my wife? Of making our family complete in every way? Tears filled Clara's eyes as she looked from the ring to the man holding it. The man who had once broken her heart, but had spent every day of the past year proving his love, his commitment, his worthiness of her trust. Yes, she whispered, her heart full to bursting. Yes, Ethan, I will. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, their lips met in a kiss that held all the promise of their future. Not perfect, perhaps, but real and true and hard one. When they parted, it was to find the twins watching them from across the garden, matching grins on their faces. Finally, Lucas called out, pumping his fist in the air. We've been waiting forever, Lily added with her characteristic blend of exasperation and affection. Clara and Ethan laughed, opening their arms as the children raced toward them, completing the circle of their embrace. Standing there in the sunshine, surrounded by the family she had never expected to have, Clara felt a sense of rightness, of completion. The journey had been long and often painful, filled with mistakes and regrets, with years of separation and hurt. But it had led them here, to forgiveness, to healing, to a love stronger for having been tested by time and trial. One day at a time they had rebuilt what was broken. And now, together, they would build something new. A future bright with promise. A family bound not just by blood but by choice, by forgiveness, by love that had endured against all odds. If you believe that true love deserves second chances, give this video a like. And if you've ever found healing in forgiveness, not just for someone else's sake, but for your own heart's peace, subscribe to Timeless Love Tales with Mr. Harrison for more stories that remind us it's never too late for love to find its way home.